Okay, so I'm Randall Bird and I'm back with you for my second video. Hopefully you enjoyed my first video. I wanted to talk to you in the second video a little bit about my box theory. So I haven't done this before. I haven't ever used just a whiteboard in my hands. So I'm hoping that this will work. But I want to talk to you about what I call the box. I'm going to write it out real quick here so you can see it. Hopefully, my box theory. Okay? Now this is my theory. My theory is that we all have this box inside of us. Okay? So we're all familiar with boxes. Maybe UPS has brought you a shipment, came in a box. Maybe you bought a pair of shoes, came in a box. Maybe you bought some stereo equipment or a stereo, came in a box. We're really familiar with the box, right? And sometimes there's a lot of filling in that box, you know, like the little pop-it things that you like to pop that keep everything in that box that's fragile protected, or, you know, we get like all the peanuts that are in that box, whatever's in there. But there's sometimes just a lot of fluff or filter in there. But I want to talk to you about my life, and then I'm going to refer it back to the box. So when I was born here in Orem, Utah. I don't remember exactly everything. I know we went to California shortly thereafter. And then we eventually ended up in Dallas when I was about 7, 8 years old. And at that time, I had a very healthy, loving mother, father. My life was probably very similar to most people. I do remember that my father was an entrepreneur back then. He was kind of running his own company, or was part of a company down there that he was helping to run. And things seemed great. I loved Dallas, Texas. I loved it down there. Yes, it was hot during the summer. I grew up playing soccer down there, and actually learned to play soccer down there. So I learned down there and grew up playing soccer since then. Yes, it was hot, and so we actually had our soccer games at night. But as I was a child, I actually filled up my box. I started filling my box up with family. And obviously that's what most of us do as children. We start to build our life with our family. And so the first thing that went into my box was my family. And that started with my mother and father. We'll throw a little mother or father in there. And then actually I got lucky and was blessed. I won't say lucky, but I was blessed. And I had a great sister that came along who I loved very much. I had a brother that came along that was my best friend. And I had another little brother that came along, and he was actually a baby when I was living down in Dallas. And so I had a pretty normal life. I had a father, a mother, two brothers, a sister. My littlest brother was 7 years younger than I am. So there was quite a little bit of an age gap there. But I was happy. I was the happy kid. I also filled that with, we'll just put toys maybe. You know, playing around, enjoying life. So I had toys and playing, okay, as a kid. And my box was pretty full. I was pretty content. I had my imagination. I was able to imagine things. I was able to play with my toys and play with my sister and my brothers. And we had a great life. I loved our house in Dallas. The people in Dallas, Texas were wonderful, amazing people. I honestly can say that I've never met better individuals in my life that were more friendly, more loving than in Texas, especially where we lived in Dallas, which was a little town, not so little, Carrollton, which is kind of just just kind of the suburbs of Dallas, Texas. And I miss Dallas and I'd love to move back there, but I got to convince the wife of that someday. So I was a very happy kid, as most of us probably were. I know some of us had childhood experiences that maybe weren't quite that happy, but mine changed. And it started to change when I was about 8 years old. And it started to change because my mother got sick, okay? Now, there's periods of my life that I kind of don't remember all of it because I kind of blocked some of it out. But I do remember that my mom got sick. And my dad also was going through some really tough times with with the company that he was running or helping to run. And I remember the conversation when my father came home and it was beside himself. We were sitting at the kitchen table We had a great kitchen. Actually, had like just a beautiful bay window there. And I remember my father said, there's some things going on at work, and it looks like we may lose the company. And he was beside himself, didn't know what to do, didn't know where to go. And my mother was getting sick as well. And so my mother was getting to the point where I don't exactly remember everything. I just remember that things started to change. And things started to change dramatically. And I felt like probably at that time that I was losing my father and I was losing my mother a little bit. Not that I was losing them permanently, but that my attachment to them was starting to be loosened a little bit, especially as my mom was getting sick. So we moved back up here to Utah because that's where we were from, and we had family around, and my mom has a ton of family here. And so we moved back up to Utah. So I'm going to kind of like start to erase a little bit, maybe my mother a little bit. She was still there, obviously, so she's not completely gone. And maybe my father just a little bit. He was really super busy with trying to run his own company, get a new job. When we came up here to Utah, we were very unsettled, not sure where we were going to live, what we were going to do. So when we came up here, it was actually me and my one brother. Actually went to live with one of my aunts at the time. And so it actually just became me and my brother. So I went from my father and my mother down to my brother, and that changed dramatically. Also, I started to lose the toys and the play. And I started to replace the toys and the play in my box with uncertainty. So I'll write uncertainty. Very uncertain about where my life was going at that young age. Very uncertain about what was going on with my mother. Very uncertain about what was going on with my father. And it was just basically me and my brother at the time. And I wasn't really super close with my aunt. She was a really, really hardcore disciplinarian. I still have some fond memories of her, but I also have some memories of her of just how harsh she was. And I remember going to school, and I really just didn't get along with the kids there. I was in Ogden, Utah. I didn't get along with the kids there. I got chased home from school most days, had zero friends. My brother was going through a ton of uncertainty at the time as well. And so it's just the two of us. We'd see my father from time to time, and we'd see my sister from time to time. My mom and my littlest brother were kind of out of the picture. So I started to just put in my box this uncertainty. Well, this uncertainty, we finally found a house in Sandy, Utah. We moved into Sandy, Utah, and we had the family back together. But I don't remember ever really necessarily losing that uncertainty of what was going on and where life was headed. And so as I kind of grew up, I remember, moving into that neighborhood in Sandy. My family was finally back together. And I remember just for some reason, I don't remember exactly why, but everybody was really unfriendly when we moved in. I swear it seemed like it took at least a year for us to make friends in that neighborhood. And the first people that came and talked to us were actually from Connecticut. So that doesn't mean necessarily that people in Utah aren't friendly, but that was my experience for at least that year. Now, I actually had a lot of great friends eventually that lived in that neighborhood. That neighborhood has a lot of fond memories for me, but I do remember that. Then I also remember going into junior high school, and by the time I got to junior high school, my mother was super sick. And I don't remember exactly what's going on, but I do remember just nights where she thought she was sick, and I think it was more mental than anything, but she would try to get out of the house to run away because she was worried she was going to get everybody in the house sick from whatever this sickness was that she had. And I remember the nights that my dad would have to run to the front door and kind of try to stop her. I remember going to school, and my friends at school would be talking about how they were going to go home to their mom, and their mom was going to have chocolate chip cookies for them, and their mom was there to greet them after school, and I didn't have that going on. So you can imagine this uncertainty really started to take over most of my box. So I had my family back together. I was very close to my brother, who died of a drug overdose years later, and we may talk about that sometime in the future. But I started to just have this uncertainty. And what I imagine is this box inside all of us. So if you imagine just having a box inside of you, what are you filling that box up with? And what I was filling it up with was uncertainty, some with my brother. My dad was working as hard as he could just to keep food on the table. My mother was getting sick. I didn't feel like I fit in with my neighbors. I didn't feel like I fit in with the other kids who were going home to their parents. And I found out later that, you know, there's a lot of us that live with that uncertainty. Junior high school came along. I really didn't have a lot of great friends in junior high school. I felt very much like a loner. High school came along, and by the time high school came along, I was even more of a loner. And about my junior year in high school, I started to fill my box with my friends. And so really, my family really kind of came out of the picture, and it became my friends. And so my friends were my life. Without my friends, I really didn't have anybody that I felt like I was really relying on. So it was my friends and uncertainty. And of course, uncertainty also led to feeling ashamed. We'll write ashamed on here. Fear and unworthiness. Okay, unworthy of love, unworthy of anything. And so I started to fill that box with friends and uncertainty and fear and those types of things. So this was the box that I was carrying around in me, if you can imagine that box being inside of me. So I'm going to leave you with that. Where does the story go from here? You got to come back for my next video and we'll talk more about it. But that's my box theory, is that we all have this box inside of us, and I'll continue the journey with you on the next video as we talk about more about the box and more about what we fill it with. So I'm Randall Bird. Remember, vision, impact, results. I look forward to talking to you in video number 3. Hope you're having a great day. Hope you're sharing these videos with everybody, and we'll talk soon. Thanks.